stop rambling. Agamemnon. Princes. What grief hath set the jaundice on your cheeks? The ample proposition that hope makes in all designs begun on earth below fails in the promised largeness. Checks and disasters grow in the veins of actions highest reared, as knots, by the conflux of meeting sap, infects the sound pine and diverts his grain tortive and errant from his course of growth. Nor, princes, is it matter new to us that we come short of our suppose so far that after 7 years' siege yet Troy walls stand. Sith every action that hath gone before, whereof we have record, trial did draw bias and thwart, not answering the aim and that unbodied figure of the thought that gave it surmised shape. Why then, you princes, do you with cheeks abashed behold our works and think them shames, which are indeed naught else but the protractive trials of great Jove to find persistive constancy in men? The fineness of which metal is not found in fortune's love, for then the bold and coward, the wise and fool, the artist and unread, the hard and soft, seem all affined in kin. Distinction, with a broad and powerful fan puffing it all, winnows the light away. And what hath mass or matter by itself lies rich in virtue and unmingled. Nestor. With due observance of thy godly seat, great Agamemnon, Nestor shall apply thy latest words. In the reproof of chance lies the true proof of men. The sea being smooth, how many shallow bauble boats dare sail upon her patient breast, making their way with those of nobler bulk? But let the ruffian Boreas once enrage the gentle Thetis, and anon behold the strong-ribbed bark through liquid mountains cut, bounding between two moist elements like Perseus' horse. Where's then the saucy boat, whose weak, untimbered sides but even now co-rivaled greatness, either harbor fled or made a toast for Neptune? Even so doth valor's show and valor's worth divide in storms of fortune, for in her ray and brightness the herd hath more annoyance by the breeze than by the tiger. But when the splitting wind makes flexible the knees of knotted oaks, and flies flee under shade, why then the thing of courage is roused with rage doth sympathize, and with an accent tuned in self-same key retorts to chiding fortune. Ulysses. Agamemnon, thou great commander, nerve and bone of Greece, heart of our number, soul and only spirit, in whom the tempers and minds of all should be shut up, hear what Ulysses speaks. Besides the applause and approbation, the which most mighty for thy place and sway, and thou most reverend for thy stretched out life, to give to both your speeches, which were such as Agamemnon, every hand of Greece should hold up high in brass, and such again as venerable Nestor, hatched in silver, should with a bond of air strong as the axle tree on which the heavens ride, knit all the Greeks' ears to his experienced tongue. Yet let it please both, thou great and wise, to hear Ulysses speak. Speak, Prince of Ithaca, and be it less of speak, Prince of Ithaca, and be it of less expect that matter needless of importless burden divide thy lips, that we are confident when rank Thersites opes his mastic jaws. We hear music, wit, and oracle. Troy, yet upon his basis, had been down, and the great Hector's sword had lacked a master but for these instances. The specialty of rule hath been neglected, and look how many Grecian tents do stand hollow upon this plain, so many hollow factions. When that the general is not like the hive, to whom the forager shall all repair, what honey is expected? Degree being visited, the unworthiest shows as fairly in the mask. The heavens themselves, the planets, and this center observe degree, priority, and place in sisture, course, proportion, season, form, office, and custom in all line of order. And therefore is the glorious planet Sol in noble eminence enthroned and sphered amidst the other, whose medicinable eye corrects the ill aspects of planets evil, and posts, like the commandment of a king, sands check to good and bad. But when the planets in evil mixture to disorder wander, what plagues, and what portents, what mutiny, what raging of the sea, shaking of the earth, commotion in the winds, frights, changes, horrors, divert, crack, rend, and deracinate the unity and married calm of states quite from their fixture. Or when degree is shaked, which is the ladder of all high designs, the enterprise is sick. How could communities, degrees in schools, and brotherhoods in cities, peaceful commerce from dividable shores, the primogeneity and due of birth, prerogative of age, crowns, scepters, laurels, but by degree stand in authentic place? Take but degree away, untune that string, and hark what discord follows. Each thing meets in mere oppugnancy. The bounded waters should lift their bosoms higher than the shores and make a sop of all this solid globe. Strength should be lord of imbecility, and the rude son should strike his father dead. Force should be right, or rather right and wrong, between whose endless jar justice resides, should lose their names. And so should justice too. Then everything includes itself in a power. Power into will, will into appetite, and appetite and universal wolf, so doubly seconded with will and power, must make perforce and universal prey, and last eat up himself. Great Agamemnon, this chaos, when degree is suffocate, follows the choking. And this neglection of degree it is that by a pace goes backward in a purpose it hath to climb. The generals disdained by him one step below, he by the next, that next by him beneath. So every step, exampled by the first pace that is sick of his superior, grows to an envious fever of pale and bloodless emulation. And 'tis this fever that keeps Troy on foot, not her own sinews. To end a tale of length, Troy in our weakness stands, not in her strength. Most wisely hath Ulysses here discovered the fever whereof all our power is sick. The nature of the sickness found, Ulysses, what is the remedy? The great Achilles, whom opinion crowns, the great Achilles, whom opinion crowns, the sinew and the forehand of our host, having his ear full of his airy fame, grows dainty of his worth. And in his tent lies mocking our designs. With him Patroclus upon a lazy bed the livelong day breaks scurril jests, and with ridiculous and awkward action which slanderer he imitation calls, he pageants us. Sometime, great Agamemnon, thy topless deputation he puts on, and like a strutting player whose conceit lies all in his hamstring, and doth think it rich to hear the wooden dialogue and sound twixt his stretched footing and the scaffoldage, such to be pitied and arrested seeming, he acts thy greatness in. And when he speaks, 'tis like a chime amending, with terms unsquared, which from the tongue of roaring Typhon drops would seem hyperboles. At this fusty stuff, the large Achilles on his pressed bed lolling, from his deep chest laughs out a loud applause, cries, "Excellent! 'Tis Agamemnon just. Now play me Nestor, hem, and stroke thy beard as being dressed to some oration." That's done as near as the extremest ends of parallels, as like as Vulcan and his wife. Yet God Achilles still cries, "Excellent! 'Tis Nestor right. Now play him me, Patroclus, arming to answer in a night alarm." And then, forsooth, the faint defects of age must be a scene of mirth, to cough and spit, and with a palsy fumbling on his gorget, shake in and out the rivet. And at this sport Sir Valor dies, cries, "Oh, enough, Patroclus, or give me ribs of steel, I shall split all in pleasure of my spleen." And in this fashion, all our abilities, gifts, natures, shapes, severals, and generals of grace exact, achievements, plots, orders, preventions, excitements to the field, or speech for truce, success or loss, what is or is not, serves as stuff for these two to make paradoxes. And in this, Nestor, and in the imitation of these twain, who, as Ulysses says, opinion crowns with an imperial voice, many are infect. Ajax is grown self-willed, and bears his head in such a reign, in full as In full as proud a place as broad Achilles, keeps his tent like him, makes factious feasts, rails on our state of war, bold as an oracle, and sets Thersites, a slave whose gall coin slanders like a mint, to match us in comparisons with dirt, to weaken and discredit our exposure, how rank soever rounded in with danger. Ulysses. They tax our policy and call it cowardice, count wisdom as no member of the war, forestall prescience, and esteem no act but that of hand. And still the mental parts that do contrive how many hands shall strike when fitness calls them on, and know by measure of their observant toil the enemy's weight, why this hath not a finger's dignity. They call it bedwork, mappery, closet war, so that the ram that batters down the wall for the great swinge and rudeness of his poise, they place before his hand that made the engine, or those that with the fineness of their souls by reason guide his execution.